Derrick Fox, the man, joining us once again.
Thank you.
We appreciate how often you've been able to come by and join us and just take us through what's going on leading up to the bowl game and keeping us updated on what's going on leading up to the New Year's Eve.
Our pleasure. It's a great opportunity to be here and talk a little bit about the behind the scenes, the process, right? We had the big question, who's going to play in the Valero Alamo Bowl? We finally answered that one, checked that off the list. But now you kind of talk about kind of a call before the storm, right? This week, because you had the teams in or their advanced teams checking things out, practice facilities, hotels, all that kind of stuff. They go back, put their schedules together. We've got our events going on, and then lo and behold, next week they start rolling into town, and then it becomes bowl week.
Is this almost in a way tougher than the anticipation and then the eventual execution of the game because you're almost in a holding pattern? I mean, or how would you describe it?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a holding pattern. We're a little bit dependent on everybody else's schedule right now because we kind of have our events. They've got to put their schedules together. Then we have to kind of massage them to see what happens. And then, full speed ahead once they hit town. And then, of course, once they hit town, things happen, things morph a little bit from here to there, and every team has its own nuance and uniqueness. So, but it's fun. And, we try to get the volunteers all rallied up from this point because now they can start seeing their fruits of their labor come to fruition as well.
When UT is one of the teams that's coming, and you've had the chance to host them 3 times before, obviously right when the teams are announced, that night, that next day, the ensuing days right after, it's excitement and everyone's, through the roof and we know what bowl game we're going to and here we go. When UT comes, it's a little bit of a different dynamic because maybe a week later, a week and a half later, like we are now from the bowl announcement, that interest is still high. There's still a lot of because it's UT.
Yeah, absolutely. You get that typical kind of tidal wave of activity with ticket purchasers right after you make the announcement, almost regardless of who the team is. But with Texas, you almost tend to have a little bit of a lull simply because they're closer. So they can delay, right? They're not getting on a plane from that perspective and flying in like you are from Iowa State last year. So you can kind of delay. And all of a sudden, I think Christmas sneaks up on everybody. Then it's like, oh, it's bowl week. Hey, Texas is here. Let's go to the Valero Alamo Bowl. So I think we'll continue to see a peak in activity as we come down the home stretch. And hopefully so. We want to try to fill it up, obviously.
And then some important dates coming up. UT is going to get here on December 26th. Utah's arriving on Christmas Day. And my guess is that's when everything just kind of, whoom, you hit the ground running and it's go, 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 go until kickoff.
That's right. And then January 1st, we'll make sure the teams are wheels up from that perspective and head back towards their respective markets and hopefully had a great experience in this year's Valero Alamo Bowl. And then we get all our stuff back to the office by the afternoon and then let everybody get home for a couple of days just to debrief, a little R&R and sight unseen from everybody from that perspective.
I want to chat with you about this because we were talking about this a little bit in the commercial break. Is you're a great student of the game as well. And I just love listening to you about Alamo Bowls and Alamo Bowls of years past. And I can't help but ask about Drew Brees. We saw him a couple of nights ago break the all-time touchdown record. Had somebody told you when Purdue came in here in 1998 for the Alamo Bowl that Derrick Fox, 21 years from now, that guy is going to be the all-time leading passer, touchdown passer in NFL history. My guess is your response would have been, okay, that's just fine with me. Let's see what he does in this ball game now.
Of course, we launched his career that night, right? I wish we could take credit for it, but obviously a dynamic player even back then and really led his team to a huge victory, beating Kansas State that night and been just a great ambassador for the game off the field as well. All the things he does in that community, tremendous ambassador. And when he eventually retires, then we could probably kick off a Hall of Fame here in the Valero Alamo Bowl too.
Exactly. I mean, I guess he would have to be one of the first guys to go in, huh?
Absolutely. Look at not only his performance in that game from that perspective, but just what he's done since then. And I think, again, look at the well-rounded, student of the game that he is, ambassador in his community, everything you'd aspire to be from that perspective. So, yeah, I would think he would certainly be a Hall of Famer.
I use the term student of the game for you. You use the term student of the game for Drew Brees. I'm telling you, if we could get more than 4 minutes and 30 seconds with Derrick Fox every single week, we would. But he's got a whole bunch of other commitments, like a bowl game coming up in just a couple of weeks. Again, New Year's Eve right here, Utah and UT. Derrick, thanks for the time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
For tickets to this year's Valero Alamo Bowl, visit alamobowl.com/tickets. The game is set for New Year's Eve at 6:30.